last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
Pull up the charts that we saw from Mario in the fall on tariffs. Check this out, folks. Prices of eggs, tariffs, revenue. You have to see what this chart looks like. Look at the amount of income America's now making with tariffs last couple months. Look at the spike in tariff revenue. This is from the Department of U.S. Treasury. Look at that. Barely anything, and then all of a sudden, boom! We're doing a couple billion a month in tariff revenue. Even prior to him getting in, it was $9 billion. He takes $9 billion to $22 billion. Can you go to the next chart, Rob? Egg prices have now declined 62% since President Trump's inauguration. They were $6.55. They're now $2.52 per dozen. Go to the store and buy up a bunch of eggs and hang on to them, right? Yeah. Massive win. The media is obviously not going to talk about it.
There is a understanding or view in this country that we need to control certain parts of our essential supply chain. You know, I always say, if COVID taught us nothing else, it surely taught us how vulnerable we are on essential parts of our supply chain. So the fact that we're trying to move some of our most vulnerable pieces of our supply chain that can shut down our U.S. economy and move them back to the United States. I think the vast majority of Americans and the vast majority of economists and the vast majority of business people all support that.
And that wouldn't have happened with pure market forces.
It would not have happened with pure market forces. Okay. So the good piece is we are starting to understand what are the essential things that need to be moved back to the United States
that might
to protect
ourselves.
So, it might cost us something.
Okay.
So that's the point that I think is interesting. The other point is, we are now at a point where we are collecting $30 to $40 billion of tariff revenue a month. And everyone's boasting about, the $30 to $40 billion of tariff revenue a month. The one thing I think we all will agree at is there's no free lunch. Someone's paying the $30 to $40 billion. Yeah. And ultimately, it is going to end up being the consumer that pays that money. So for a short period of time, maybe the business is eating it. So if you're an importer and you're Nike or you're Apple, you may be eating it for a short period of time. If you're the importer, you may be eating it for a short period of time. But that's an unsustainable business model. And you've got your shareholders and you've got your banks and you've got your debt covenants, and you have to abide by all of the restrictions that you have. So ultimately, you're going to be forced to pass those tariffs down into the system. And unfortunately, the consumer is going to eat them. And I think yesterday's numbers gave us a little hint. And by the way, I never get too excited over one set of numbers. I always warn people, it's a set of numbers. It could be completely different next month. So we have to wait to see what the trend is. But when you see, things that we know we're importing, like toys, like appliances, like paper products, all showing close to 2% inflationary pressures, we have a pretty good idea that the underlying product is probably not going up.
But the journal